Hey you guys, I hope you're doing well. Okay, I have not made a video in a little while, and you know, I need to get back into the flow of my things. If you have been witnessing the things that I've been posting, I've been saying how I was going to begin showing up again and doing everything that I do in the way that I do it. So yeah, that's what's taking place. Which way do I need to look? We're gonna look at the camera here. So yeah, many things. So okay, you see that I have changed my name of across all my social media, well, Instagram and YouTube, Housewife Hoodoo, because that is my focus. That is where I have grown into, right? And that's really what I'm going to talk about in this video, growth, right? Jupiter just recently went into Gemini, and my natal Gemini is in my natal Gemini. My natal Jupiter is in Gemini, so I'll be having a Jupiter return really soon in about, I don't know, a few days. It's at maybe like 3 degrees. So maybe like, I don't know how quickly Jupiter moves, but as quick as Jupiter moves, that is how long it's going to take place. But this is going to express itself throughout the entire transit of Jupiter being in Gemini. So with that, I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because the other day I decided to go ahead and take a look at the other Jupiter returns that I've had since I've been alive, right? So this is like 11, 12, 11 going into 12, and throughout my entire age of 12, and then my 23rd, not necessarily 23rd, well, yeah, 23rd to 24th birthday is when, or year, I should say, age of year is when I had my Jupiter return. So very significant things happened for me during that time. When the first one, when I was 11, 12, when I turned 12, 11 was my last year that I went to private school. And after I left out of private school, I had to go to public school. And I've noticed as an adult how big of an impact that change, that shift in culture, really, the dynamic that it brought, like what I picked up, what I absorbed throughout that. And as I've gotten to learn more about, that's strange, as I've gotten to learn more just about myself and utilizing different tools and self-identifying tools, it's I've noticed it. You know, that was one thing that I really noticed. It took me a while, but I eventually realized that, oh wow, like everything that I've been dealing with over this span of time has come from like this indoctrination that I ended up experiencing leaving from private school, going to public school, right? So the next 12 years, right? My shift in I had a drastic shift in perspective of relating, of just how I showed up. And you know, because when I was in private school, it was more of me focusing on my studies, more of me being focused and committed to my education, and I didn't have a lot of distractions, and there were more I don't want to say involuntary extracurricular things, but definitely more to get into that I didn't necessarily have to pay for. Okay, so with that, I went through public school from my 5th grade year. Was it 5th grade? fifth grade to my graduation, right? So after I graduated, I intended on going to school for pharmacy to be a pharmacist, right? I was gonna had got accepted into Xavier University in New Orleans, and I don't know, I just ended up not wanting to do that. I changed my mind and decided not to. I believe if I would have stayed in private school, I probably would have taken that route, because again, my focus was on my education. But when I went to public school, a lot of my focus shifted into relationships and relating and connecting and being seen, in a sense, right? Because my Jupiter is in my 10th house, so it has to do with my public image, right? My terms of success, like how I was finding success was changing drastically, right? It was no longer me being able to, just focus on my academics, which I could have went into public school and did that, but it's a different culture. People are more focused on personalities and what you have and things like that, and I didn't have that before, even with the fact that the kids around me lived in, their parents, had money. Not that my parents had money to take care of me and send me to school, right? And take care of our life. But these people, they were well off, so, but that still wasn't a factor in my connections with them, my friendships and my relationships with them, right? What my parents did and what their parents did, it didn't matter. We were still friends. We still hanging out, still going to each other's houses, things of that nature. So when my second Jupiter return came around, right before, like in the midst of that, I dyed my hair blonde. I started really getting into reading different things. What I remember really kicking it off, I had decided to do a detox because I call myself like gonna become a vegetarian. So I did this master cleanse, and that whole journey led me into, becoming a certified detox therapist. And that's when I started that whole journey in Sacred Woman. Come 2013, I guess. Detox therapy stuff was 2012, 2013. But what it did was begin to take me on a journey of I guess the word deconditioning, stripping down, breaking curses, generational curses, however you want to call it, right? Because when I got into it, it had a lot to do with, I realized later on, like just recently, that a lot of the things that when I first got into shifting my life and my focus and my path and everything like that, what I realized was that I was doing a lot of what I was doing for other people. Yes, I was doing it for myself, but I'm doing this for my family kind of thing, and all the things that they've experienced and been through, so I don't have to deal with that and yada yada blase blase, so yeah, I had my Jupiter return, and it put me on the path of me being here now, today, what I am, what I'm doing. And I went back and I took a look at, before I go there, my dynamic and shift of going from private school to public school, it had to happen, right? Not had to happen because I had to have that experience, but within my environment, what was going on in my household, it was out of everyone's control, right? Based off of the circumstances, based off of what was taking place. All right, so it is what needed to happen, and in the midst of that, I ended up gaining a lot of experience that I would not have gained had I had stayed in private school. But at the same time, I can't say that I wish I would have never experienced it, because it led me here, right? But it was just it was a ripple effect of things, right? A ripple effect in my perspective of how I was thinking, how I carried myself, how I decided whether or not that I was going to interact with this person or that person, right? Whether or not I was going to interact, live my life out in a specific way, you know. And then that second Jupiter return, it really just put me on this path of like, it was just like an awakening. Not necessarily an awakening, but I guess that's the word you can call it, an awakening, a truth bomb for real, right? Jupiter and Gemini is very, Jupiter is the teacher, Gemini is the student, right? So every time I go through, I'm learning something, right? But this time I'm at this space where I'm like, damn, I'm so grateful. Like everything over the past 12 years have been so aligned and so on point and so necessary, right? But within it, what I learned was, like, if I had any advice to give when it comes to the things that Jupiter return to bring, is like, what has to go, let it go. Whether the relationships, let them go if they have to go. The ones that you build, let them grow, right? And let things go without a need to resent, without a need to feel betrayed, right? Because at the same, we look at people not accepting us as a betrayal from them, when in reality it's like, you know, things had to change. It is what it is. Like, you outgrow people, you change, you split paths with people, and it's not necessary. I don't even want to say you outgrow people. Like, interests just change, you know, and sometimes where you are cannot thrive where other people are anymore, and it's like rejection will happen, rejection will take place, and it's an embracing, a willingness to embrace, right? It's like, how do we grow without the pain? How do we grow without the suffering? And for me, from what I've seen, what I have learned is just surrender to it, you know, let it be what it is. Like, let your judgment of things be your decisions, and how it is that you choose to carry out where things are guiding you, where you're being shown, you know. I mean, it's hard to walk away. It's hard to live a new life with people who, you know, when you thought you were going to be doing something different for so long, living a different life for so long, right? But a time comes where it's just like, hey, this ain't that, you know, this is not that, you're not that for me, right? Like, this is not that for me. And it kind of, in short, I don't want to say it is what it is, but it's like, recognize the wisdom in it. What did you learn from this? Where have you grown, right? And what did you grow into? And it's just like, dang, these past 12 years have been everything it is that I needed in order to accept myself, to love myself, to thrive in myself and my being, right? To have the right energy around me it is that I need to be able to just strictly be who it is that I am, who I've really always been. But that trajectory of being in the world, right? I was of the world and in the world, okay? Like, there was no separation. And I was okay with that. Like, I was thriving in that. I felt good in that, you know, but that's because everybody else around me was in that, was with that, you know. And so it was a space of comfort, and it became uncomfortable. One day it was just uncomfortable, you know, because not only was I experiencing this Jupiter return at 22, 23, 24, all that energy, because you start feeling these planetary transits, these shifts, before they, like, weeks, months, you know, before they even happen. And it not only was my Jupiter returning, but Uranus was conjunct my sun. All right. It was a lot. Neptune was in Pisces in my solar return chart during that time. I had all this Pisces energy in my first house, right? So I was really connecting with the God in me, right? Connecting with God, recalibrating my idea of God and what that looked like, what that felt like, you know, and what that meant to me. Because before it was just, okay, I need to go to church. I'm gonna go to church. And it's like, that's cool for some people, but I've never really been into going to church like that. I grew up as a young girl. I grew up Catholic, right? So Catholic church is different from going to a Baptist or even a non-denominational church, because a non-denominational church is very reflective of Baptist churches, right? So despite whatever it is, however they want to put it, it's very reflective of that. Okay. And I don't know, I just my heart was never in it, and I needed to, that led me on a path of defining what that meant for me and all those different phases, right? So you will go through phases. The phases will come and the phases will go, and it's like, let them, right? Take what worked, take what was helpful, take what you grew from within it, and don't let the disappointments in those phases jade you, right? Don't let yourself be, because that just hinders you, it holds you back, right? There's gonna be sadness, like these things are gonna hurt, but if you can find the love in it, the positive in it, because that too exists within the lack thereof that seems to be the forefront of the situation, that phase that you're in. That's what's going to carry you forward, right? And also that love for yourself, making sure that you're doing exactly what it is that you need to do for yourself without feeling guilt, any kind of guilt, right? Because when all these things start to take place, like, that's where the pain like resides. That's where it finds a home within your body, and it creates that stagnation and those illnesses and that depression and just the feeling like you can't come up out of it, you know. But we always have to face reality and recognize the part it is that we played within, and it's like, oh, maybe I was the one who betrayed myself within this. I knew this wasn't for me for real. To some degree, I felt that this wasn't fully for me, right? But I decided to go ahead and give it a shot, because I felt like that I would grow from it, that there was something in it for me, right? That this would help put me on the path it is that I need to be on, that I'm trying to get to, when in reality it's like, what's going on with you? What do you really feel pulled to? What you really feel called to, right? But all of this led me to hoodoo, right? Connecting with the God in me, connecting with my spirit self, connecting with my soul, and what it is that really meant. A lot of the stuff that I experienced along the way, I had, did a little divination in it, and with it, and what came up was like, why did I have to experience some of these things? Why did I have to go through this in the way that I went through it? And the one card that stuck out to me that came out was two hands, right? So in hoodoo practice, majority of hoodoo practitioners, they are two-headed doctors, right? So these are people who do right hand work and left hand work, right? Right hand as far as the love, the manifestation, the light work, right? But there's also of protection, which is left hand work, right? The uncrossing, the crossing, right? The banishing, the cord cutting, right? The exercising, right? The exorcisms, those things are left-handed works. Getting rid of something, taking something, breaking things down, taking them apart, right? Making them, turning things into a different state, a lot of time requires that left-handed energy, right? And that's when you bring that right hand in and you fill it with love, you fill it with light, you fill it with, make it full to the brim with abundance and love and beauty and just you know. So yeah, through the Jupiter returns, they have been very much so of a blessing for me, for my growth, for my life. You know, throughout the time of these past 12 years, I've attained a lot of degrees, certificates, information, knowledge. I met my husband, had my son, okay, learned what it really meant to be in union with someone within a relationship. Like, what does it mean to be married to somebody? You know, and how do you make that work for real? And recognizing who I am within that, right? Who I am as a mother, who I am as someone who loves myself and sees the blessing that I am to life. Like, right? You gotta be willing to say that. Like, yeah, I am a blessing to life. I bring love, right? I bring truth, okay? And everything in between and around that. And when it comes to my work, to the work that I do, you know, I do that in the framework of hoodoo. It resonates with who I am. It's an ancestral practice for me. It's like a very grounded way of going about life, of being, of experiencing life and all of the things that are within it. You know, I love what it can do, what it does do. I love what it can take away and keep away, okay? So, you know, it just is trust the path, trust the steps, trust the things that you do, that you have to do, that you are not sure you want to do, right? But you do. Is kind of like keep that vision focused on where it is that you're going and what you're doing and how you're gonna go about doing that. And don't worry about nobody else and what they're doing and how they're doing it, even if they do the same thing as you. You know, it's because it's gonna come differently, right? I don't want to say plenty. I have a couple teachers, all right, human guides that I've met on this path, on this journey, that do similar things that I do, but the way in which we go about doing what we do is totally different. It comes from totally different places because we different people, right? So that's always something to keep in mind. But yes, y'all, Jupiter is returning. Jupiter is in Gemini, and it's bringing, with this Jupiter return, what I see is me just fully solidifying everything that I've built up over these past years. You know, getting back comfortable in how it is that I carry myself. Because one thing I realized is that I was like, man, if I would have stayed in that image, that self-image I was, and continued to do what I was doing, I don't think I would have experienced so much sadness and depression. But at the same time, I had to strip all that down because so much had to come up out of me. There's so many things that I had been suppressing for so long, like just kind of going along, you know, from that first Jupiter return up until the next one, you know, and just sticking around out of the fact that not necessarily because it was familiar, right? And that's important to recognize where familiarity has worn itself out. Like, can this continue to help me grow, bloom, blossom? When it comes to these things, sometimes you just really gotta be selfish, right? And be okay with what you gotta do for you. Like, that is the ultimate self-care. And that's really what it gave me. Because, yes, we all love to get our hair done, get our nails done, you know, buy new clothes and buy new things. But there is nothing like the embodiment of who it is that you are and embracing that and accepting that. Like, that is true self-care, because that leads you to that self-love it is that you need in order to really be able to show up and say, hey, this is me, you know. So yeah, y'all, I'm gonna leave it here. I'll be back with a few new videos coming up. I'm gonna do some readings because we have a aspected transit that's about to come up. Pluto and what it is, I believe Jupiter is about to come into an aspect. Yeah, it is. Right now, Jupiter is trine Pluto, that's in retrograde. Okay, so I want to pull some cards to see what's going on and share that with y'all. Okay, so yeah, I will talk to y'all really soon. If you are looking for any support, are in need of some readings, some spiritual counseling, connection for yourself, or if you would like to do mentorship with me, you can find all that information below in the description box. All right, and yeah, I will talk to y'all very soon. Bye.